believe Carlos last year got a championship belt. I don't know if he still has that.
Yeah,
So
I got a couple in there.
yeah, it's just something you bring to the bar, just to show people that you are the dominant one.
Bar, work,
Bar,
man.
work, church. When
Yeah,
you go to the
wherever.
grocery store, it's a great conversation starter. So but hello, everyone, and welcome to the Beardzone Sports Talk. My name is David. I got Carlos with me, just me and Carlos tonight, the dynamic duo tonight to break down everything wide receivers this coming fantasy league. We got our top five list. We're going to be sharing that with you guys. We also got some sleepers that we're looking at this year to maybe help you guys out win your fantasy league. But before we get into that, go ahead, hit that like, hit that subscribe button down there. That is the best way to support us as we continue to grow this channel. Carlos, top five wide receivers. A lot of people say that the wide receiver is the lifeblood of the fantasy team. And I mean, if you really look at it, especially with the way that the NFL is going right now, it's a very heavy pass league now. So these wide receivers, and we got a bunch of them all over the board. So I'm ready to hear what you have for your top five. Let's kick it off with your number five guy this year coming into this 2024 fantasy season.
Yeah, these top five these are like those cream of the crop guys that you're counting on for big weeks. So I'm going to start with my number five is Amon St. Brown. He finished he he finished in the top. He was number three last year, but I think some guys got some things coming back. But Amon is man, this guy is amazing. His route tree is there's not a route that he can't run. He can take the 1 yard pass to 20. And he's still the number one target for the Detroit Lions in that Ben Johnson offense. So he's going to remain that guy. He's got Laporta, Jameson Williams. Actually, I think will help him out because with Williams being the deep threat, it should open up a little bit more over the middle for St. Brown, who is not afraid to go over the middle. That is one tough guy. So I got him at number five. He's definitely a guy that I think you can rely on. Like I think all these guys are. And the good thing is the guy stays healthy, and that is key to your first round picks.
Yeah, for sure, man. Those injuries, they'll oof. I mean, they can really hurt you. No one wants to see CMC go down opening week.
Oh,
Like no one,
that's that's the
no
look.
one wants to
Oh,
see that. Yeah, exactly. Well, all right, time to sell the house now, guys, because I just lost all of my money. So my number five guy, a lot of people might have him a lot higher on the list here, but I'm only gonna say it's Justin Jefferson. And the reason why I have Justin Jefferson at number five, first of all, he still has to be top five. He still has to be a guy that you look at when you have a choice at wide receiver. Um, my only concern with Justin Jefferson, there's two things. One, he's coming off of an injury last year, off of that hamstring injury last year. And although I know that everything is looking good this year, those hamstring injuries, man. I'm a Tampa fan. Mike Evans, as consistent as he's been, those hamstring injuries just linger with you. It just seems like, especially at that wide receiver position. So it kind of worries me because we were just talking about you want your guy to be healthy. You want your guy to be in there every single game for the full length of the game as well. But and also the number two reason is we don't know what his quarterback is going to look like, right? I mean, he's coming off of Kirk Cousins, and as much hate as Kirk Cousins gets when it comes down to winning playoff games and everything else like that, the guy is consistent across like every single year with stats. I mean, he has really good stats if you look at him. He doesn't turn the ball over. He knows how to get his receivers into open spaces. And I really think that Justin Jefferson has thrived because of that. Justin Jefferson is the number one receiver in the league as far as talent wise, I believe. But he's coming in at my number five just because there's just a couple of red flags that I'm seeing. But at the end of the day, the guy has been over 1,000 yards every single year, right?
yeah.
And he had 5 touchdowns last year. Again, he had some injuries. I think 2021 was his best year with 10 touchdowns. So that was the only time that he hit double digit touchdowns. So which is obviously big in point score. So, but hey, if you had the opportunity to select Justin Jefferson, take him because he's a guy that can definitely help you win some games this year.
Yeah.
So, but Carlos, number four, who is your number four guy?
So it's the guy you just talked about. It's JJ, and like you said, he is the. I think he is the best receiver. It's amazing that him and Jamar Chase were on the same college football team together, which is insane. I feel bad for those defenses, but he did put up his 1,000 yards again with Joshua Dobbs at quarterback, and so the quarterback is an issue. There, the early reports is JJ's having a hard time with it, and we haven't really seen Sam Darnold in a while. When he was with the Niners, he just kind of held the clipboard. So we're gonna see. But the guy is. It doesn't matter who's behind there. He's going to put up some numbers. But I'm with you. I have a little concerns with the quarterback. Like, is it Cousins was very consistent, so we'll see. But he's still and the guy's he's still electric. So he still stays in that top five.
He's one of the guys who at the end of the day, you throw the 50-50 ball to him, even if, he might be double covered, just because he has the opportunity to make a big play. I mean, do you remember, I think it was 2 seasons ago when they were in Buffalo and they had that wild game where it
Oh
was like
yeah,
time and that one-handed
yeah,
catch on fourth down, I think it was like 4th and 18 where he
yeah,
caught that. I mean, dude, catch of the year. I mean that has to be up there as amongst some of the best catches that we've seen on a football field. I mean that was the moment behind it. I mean just everything behind it, and then to be able to go up there, grab that ball one handed in traffic, take the hit, come
yeah.
down, and you're in Buffalo too, man. I mean like that's not an easy place to play.
No, and he's got great separation. Like when he needs to turn it up just a little bit, even when they're going full speed, he's got it, man. He's got the rangy arms. Man, he's dynamite. I can't imagine if he was in like we had Dak or Tua's offense or one of those guys. I think he's putting up 2,000 yards. So,
What
but
the
yeah,
Kyle Shanahan offense?
oof,
What would
scary.
happen? I mean, the guy would be like 2,000 yards every single year, probably.
Yeah,
I mean,
just scary.
absolutely insane. So, well, what's funny is that your five guy was my five guy was your fourth guy, and your fifth guy is my fourth guy. So I got Amon-Ra St. Brown from the Detroit Lions. Just like everything that you touched on, man. The guy he's just a tough wide receiver, and I don't think that he gets enough credit for that. He's not afraid to get hit at all. He will go across the
No,
middle. He'll kind of put his body on the line to make that catch, and he has very sure hands. I mean, Jared Goff has built a great relationship with him over the past couple of seasons, and I really like what he's been able to do in that Ben Johnson, offense. They definitely feed him. My only concerns, if they're concerns, and I think they're really just more of like maybe it might he might get a little bit of like production taken away from him because of the other talent that is around him with Sam Laporta. A lot of people have Jameson Williams as their sleeper this year for the wide receiver because they feel like that he's kind of due for a big breakout year. um, which it very well could be. I mean, he
could
we
be.
could we could easily see Jameson Williams put up great numbers this year, but I don't think it's going to take that much away from St. Brown, just simply because he is the safety blanket as of right now for Jared Goff. And so they have a great running back duo back there that can help keep the defense honest, because you don't want to just kind of lay off the line of scrimmage when you have David Montgomery and Jameer Gibbs in the backfield. I mean, those guys can do some
Yeah,
damage to you, so you're going to have to be able to stack the box a little bit, which again is going to open up the passing game, which is what we saw exactly last year, and that's why those guys were literally 30 minutes away from going to the Super Bowl. So
yeah,
but I like him on St. Brown. He's a healthy pick. If you see him on the board, and maybe you've had some bad lucks with wide receiver because of the health issues, get this guy because this guy he's consistent. He's healthy. He will definitely be, one to play every single. week this year.
He is. My only worry with Williamson is he's had injuries. So he tore the ACL at Alabama, and then he hurt his ankle, and he's kind of that Devontae Smith lanky guy type of guy. So I think it just, like you said, St. Brown is that he's such a huge safety pick because he doesn't get hurt. But Williams, I mean, he's a little, he can get banged up pretty quick.
Yeah, which I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, if Jameson Williams does go down, it's I mean, okay,
Yeah.
well, St.
Yep.
Brown's our
Yep.
guy, you know. So it's like
Yep.
okay, but he does have some help with Sam Laporta. Laporta is a very reliable target for Jared Goff as well. I'm sure that he will probably sneak into some of the top five lists when we cover the tight ends this
Yeah.
fantasy series. So, but now we're moving on up. We're getting there now. Now we're into the top three. These guys are the guys that are going to be able to really help you win the championship games, and so I'm excited to see who you have at your number three spot.
Yeah, I think when you get in these top three receivers, these are your 300-point guys that get you the 300 points, and these are your guys like you get that 30. And God, man, if you're ever playing a team that puts up 40 on you, these are the guys that can do it. And it's crazy to think that this guy, he has a good year last year, he has 100 catches, 1,200 yards, 7 touchdowns, and I'm thinking that he's going to bounce back because he had a backup quarterback, and that's Jamar Chase. He's got the Eminem version of Burrow now. Burrow's ready to go. It's crazy to think that's a down year for that guy, but it's a good year for a ton of receivers like you would kill for that year. But I think he's a guy that he's going to bounce back. I think he's going to get more yards, more touchdowns. I think just him and that Burrow connection from college is just, man, they just go together. So he's my number three, and I think I think he bounces back as long as everybody stays healthy. I think he gets back in that 300 port range. Man, I think he gives you 20 a week. Man, it's gonna be fun to see those guys in Cincy.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm with you. I got Jamar Chase at number three. I mean, it's just when I looked at his stat because I had that same mentality. Like, okay, Joe Burrow's back. He'll have a bounce back year. I know last year was a little bit of a down year, and I looked. I'm like, wait a minute, 1,200
It,
yards, seven
it's
touchdowns.
crazy.
Like, what are we? What? This that and that's like what you said. I mean, what was it? Aaron Rodgers that said, my down year is someone else's career year, and
It
that's
is
exactly what he did last year, man, with the backup quarterback
no
and
T Higgins for
no
most of the
T.
year.
Yeah, no T. Higgins. I
Yeah,
mean, the guy was literally the lifeblood of this offense, and he was I mean, just the train that just kind of okay.
yeah,
I'm just going to have the ball every single down. So I mean, which might have led into him getting that 100, catches for 1,200 yards and seven touchdowns. But dude, I mean, now with or Joe Burrow back, and here's the thing: you mentioned it earlier with Justin Jefferson. Jamar and Joe have gone back since college, and they had a great connection in college. Now these two guys, they're pros. They've been in the game. The game is now slowed down for them. They've been able to be in this offense for a few years. This connection has got to be insane. And we were robbed of seeing it last year, but I think that this year is going to be a big breakout year. And dude, Joe Burrow, like with the Slim Shady haircut, it gives me the same vibes as when Aaron Rodgers. Who did he come on? I'm not good with actors' names, but with when he had the long hair and the white tank top.
Oh, Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
it kind of gives me that kind of vibe. So, and also I would have to double check, but I know that they don't have Joe Mixon anymore, so I don't know what their backfield looks like. But I mean, this could be a
Um,
pass offense.
no, I mean they still have some talent back there, and they did add Mike Gesicki at tight end, so they have that like true tight end that they haven't had in the past. So
Yeah.
they've got that on there. But I mean, they got Zach Moss, yeah, and Chris Brown, and they're more of a bruisers type guys. So they're they're not the guys like you're catching a ton of balls out of the backfield. They can do it, but that's not their forte on here. But it's going to be he's got I think he has some help, man. I think he gets back to that 2021 where he's close to 1,500 yards, 13, 14 touchdowns, 100 catches.
And let's
I
not
think he's
forget, that was the year that Joe Burrow was running for his life.
yeah,
They
yeah,
had a horrible offensive line. And then last year, he had that freak non contact injury that kind of took him out for the year.
yeah.
So now we're going to be able to see this is the first year that we're going to be able to see Joe Burrow as a professional quarterback with an actual offensive line that's worth the damn. I mean,
Yeah.
like, so I mean,
Could be scary.
who knows what that's going to look like? But that's why, I mean, yeah, I got Jamar Chase at number three. I was so tempted to put him at number two, but I feel like that me and you are probably kind of zeroing in on the two guys, and I'm curious to see which order we put them in. But who do you have as your number two receiver?
This is a tough one, and I could be a little bit of bias here. I have CD as my number two.
Okay.
CD TD. I love CD Lamb since he's been at Oklahoma. The guy is a man. I just don't know what this his Oklahoma days. He gets better every year. I just don't. I just have a feeling about my number one that's going to overtake him. And he's got paid, so he should be just do CD things, and I think he has another great year. He just had such a big year with 135 catches, over 1,700 yards, 12 touchdowns. Yeah, I just don't know. That's a. We'll see if he can do it again. That's a lot of yards, and
Yeah.
for to come back to back 1,700, it's not always easy. So my thinking is maybe he doesn't catch 12 touchdowns. He gets back to earth, maybe 10, 1,500 yards. So maybe 10 less catches on there. But I mean, you can't go wrong with CD.
No, and he stays healthy. He's another guy
Yeah.
who he's going to play all 17 games. I mean, he doesn't miss. He just doesn't miss games. I mean, and the guy puts up consistent numbers. So, but speaking of 1,700 yards, that brings me to my number two guy. My number two guy is definitely going to be your number one guy. If he's not, then I I'm very curious to see who your number one would be. But
I
my
mean,
number two
Adam
guy is
Thielen.
dude, don't. Yeah, Adam Thielen's number one, man. He's gonna have a breakout year. But my number two guy is Tyreek Hill. And
Ugh.
this guy, if you have a chance to put Tyreek Hill on your fantasy team and you decide not to take him, you're insane. Fun fact. When I first started playing fantasy football, it was probably back in like 2018, right when Mahomes started. And this is why. It's because I joined a league with a buddy of mine, and I started watching the tape or the practices and the preseasons with Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill, and I saw that connection, and I was like, "Ooh, this could be deadly." And I went out and I drafted Tyreek Hill in my first round, and I got absolutely destroyed in the chat room, right? And then I think it was like round 11 or 12, I got Patrick Mahomes.
Oh.
And that was a year that group chat got real silent about halfway through
That's a good
because
combo.
yeah, I mean that was their first year together, and I've loved Tyreek Hill ever since then. So if you can have a chance to get this guy on your team, definitely grab him. 1,700 yards. He's gone. You're talking about 1,700 yards and how hard that is. It is extremely. That's insane. That's crazy numbers. That's so many yards. But this guy has put up 1,700 yards ever since he's been a Miami Dolphin.
2 times, yeah.
2 years in a row, and he almost doubled his touchdowns last year from his first year with Tua. So now this year, and all he's saying is Mr. 2K. He wants to be Mr. 2K this year. He wants to be that 2,000 yard receiver. And I think he can do it. I really think he can do it. And so it was really hard for me not to put him at number one. And it's just because, talk doesn't necessarily always win you games. But when this guy talks, I want to believe it. But Tyreek Hill is an absolute force. I mean, he's the guy who can literally turn anything into a touchdown. I will never forget. It was a few years ago. I think the Dolphins were playing the Cowboys on Thanksgiving, I want to say, and they dumped it out on a little screenplay. Or no, it was the Chiefs. Because I think he was with the Chiefs still. But he dumped it out on a little screen play, and it was like the last play of the half. And he took this and he just literally ran in between the defenders, and he made them look like children out there. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? Like it was literally like he's just that fast. Like he's people are just like, oh, does speed really translate onto the field? This guy does.
it
This guy
translates.
has, yeah, it translates very well. He can outrun anybody on the field, and he can take a play that is looking like a negative play, and he can make it positive in a heartbeat. Um, so if you have Tyreek Hill on the board, take him.
Take them.
Because there's no one. Well, I have one guy. I have one guy at
Go
my number.
ahead, just go. I'll tell you. I
You
mean, you
want me to
said
do
it.
it?
You, yeah. I mean, I got Tyreek at number one.
Okay.
He wants to do his 2,000 yards. Like you say, he missed a game last year. He finishes 1 yard short of 1,800. He, like you say, he's electric. He can take the 1 yard pass on the 5 yard line in a blink of an eye, be 95 yards down the field, giving you the peace sign. So, yeah, it's a tough decision if you're the number two pick in the draft. CMC probably goes one, but if you're sitting there at number two, man, you got a decision you can't go wrong with. You just who's going to have a better year. So, who
Yeah.
you got for number one? I mean, I think I know who it is.
My number one guy is Mike. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, my number one guy is CD Lamb. I just this guy is just he's everything that you want for a fantasy wide receiver. He's consistent. He stays healthy. He gets a lot of targets. He gets a lot of catches. Him and Dak have a great connection, and he's in an offense that favors his play style very, very well. I'm at the position where I would probably be that crazy guy who, if I'm number one, man, I might take CD just to throw in that wrench right out of the gate, just right out of the gate. But CD is the type of guy who I had a chance to get him last year in the league that me and you were in, and I passed on him because I was just like, it's CD. No, I'm not going to buy into the Dallas Cowboys hype, and I was kicking myself by week two. I mean, because this guy he's just consistent. Like he's just consistent. He will get targets. He gets plenty of targets. He'll get plenty of catches. He'll get plenty of red zone targets. He's gonna get into the end zone double digits very easily. And so like I said, with Dak, especially Dak coming now, CD just got paid. I don't know where Dak is gonna land on as far as like his contract. We kind of touched on that in the last episode, where he might, when he might get paid. But if they decide to let him go into next offseason without paying him, he could have a massive year, and CD is going to be the beneficiary of that.
Yeah, 100%.
So that's why I have CD at my number one spot, because I'm banking on the stinginess of Jerry Jones with holding out on paying Dak and having Dak prove himself. And he's going to prove himself this year. He's going to prove why he needs to be in that top dollar margin for quarterbacks. And I feel like he's going to have a ball out season. So
Yeah, that makes sense. And CDs is the best way to get paid. So that makes
exactly,
100% sense.
he's the guy who's going to be able to take that check and cash it in the bank. So, but now let's talk about some guys. Maybe you want to call them honorable mentions, but we like to call them sleeper. These guys are the guys who you kind of look at your board, you start feeling good, everything's starting to come together, and then you're like, wait a minute, this guy's still here? Maybe I'll take him. So, but who's your sleeper? Who are you targeting? Who are you looking at getting in these later rounds, Carlos?
Yeah, the sleepers could be so pivotal in your picks, man. And you're always trying to find that hidden gem or the next Puka Nakua or the guys that drafted him in the 13, 14 round last year or later. Good for you. Hope you're going to keeper league. Um, my guy is, it's a guy that you hope to outperforms his ADP. And I think I got a guy here that can do it. He's got a new team. They got a new offensive head coach who's an offensive minded guy, new OC, and that is Deontay Johnson for the Carolina Panthers. Now, this guy over the last 3 years is 12th in targets, and you're talking a guy. The next guy above him is Jamar Chase with only 4 more targets, so he gets his targets. I think the change of scenery helps. I think Canales and then the OC that came with him from the Bucks is Zeke, maybe I don't know how to say his last name, so I apologize there. Coming over as the offensive coordinator now, and going through the Bucks were 7th in passing last year, so they're going to throw the ball. He's definitely the number one there. He's going to be He's going to be like the younger version of Adam Thielen, I think, for Bryce Young. And Thielen had a very good stretch there. He had a good 5 to 6 week where he was putting up points. Uh, and then he got banged up. But I think Deontay Johnson's that guy. He just hasn't had the touchdowns to go with his numbers. But I think this year is a year you see him kind of. I mean, he gets those touchdowns. I don't think he's a double digit touchdown guy, but this is a guy that you might see fall to round the 8, 9, because I think some people are going to sleep on him because he's with the Panthers and Bryce Young and just forget about it. But I think he's that late pick that, man, if you can get him around there, I think you scoop him up.
That's a great pick, man. Honestly, I was looking at Deontay Johnson as a possible sleeper. But due to me being a Tampa Bay fan, I'm going to do nothing but root against the Carolina Panthers and anybody else in the NFC South. So I didn't want to bring that bad juju on me. But I did find someone. I was looking there. There's a few guys out there. We mentioned Jamison Williams, right? He could be a potential sleeper. I was even thinking of another NFC South team with Drake London. I like that connection that he might have with Kirk Cousins and that new offense. I think that he's definitely going to be he can definitely see an uptick in production. But I was going through and I kind of went against my own rule, to be honest with you. And my rule is don't buy into the hype of the rookies right out of the gate, And but I can't help it. This guy, the reason why I'm going to pick this guy as my sleeper is because I look at his quarterback, and his quarterback is the number one fantasy quarterback over the last several years, and that's Josh Allen. And I'm talking about Keon Coleman. This guy is an absolute stud, man. I mean, you want to talk about okay, they got rid of Stephon Diggs, right? But this guy is going to be able to come in and he's going to be the new favorite target for Josh Allen, and he's big, he's physical, he's going to get a lot of red zone targets. I'm not scared of because I know that they have Dalton Kincaid, I know that they have Dawson Knox. They're going to be able to get red zone targets as well, but this guy, I feel like that this guy and just his personality. If you look at the relationship that Josh Allen had with Stephon Diggs, the personality of Stephon Diggs is kind of the same as his Keon Coleman guy. I don't know about necessarily as toxic, but I just think that the personality and how they just like to have fun, right? And
Yeah,
I think that him and Josh Allen are going to really hit it off. And if Josh Allen is your quarterback and he's the number one fantasy quarterback over the last several years, you're bound to put up numbers, And they also have they have a good veteran cast around him. They have Curtis Samuel, who is another guy who I was actually thinking about possibly being a sleeper. I mean, because he had a good season a couple of years ago with I think his new offensive coordinator now.
yeah,
So, and they also have that Khalil Shakir, I think it is
yeah.
Shakir or something. Um, And he had a couple of games last year where you were like, I mean, okay, if you picked him up off of the waiver wire, he might have helped you win a couple of games last year. But I like Keon Coleman. He's a big physical threat. And I feel like he's going to get a lot of red zone targets. I think that that's just how they're going to build this offense, and it's going to be tough to stop.
Yeah,
I would not be surprised if Keon Coleman had a 10-11 year touch, or it's a 10-11 touchdown year this year. Coming out of the gate. So, but I do like him. I really do like him.
yeah, I think he's a good player, and they got Joe Brady as the OC, so he'll get used, you know, in a little bit unique ways. But you forgot about that two-headed tight end monster they got with Dawson Knox and Kincaid too. Should help them out because they've got to give respect to those two tight ends. That could be the best two tight end set in the football. But yeah, Keenan, I think he's a good pick. I think he's that guy you look for him late and just hope everybody else sleeps on him.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah.
but that does it for our wide receiver take. We're no experts, but we've won a few championships, between a couple of us. So I mean, we do, have some talk, that can back up, with our resumes. So I believe Carlos last year got a championship belt. I don't know if he still has that.
Yeah,
So
I got a couple in there.
yeah, it's just something you bring to the bar, just to show people that you are the dominant one,
Bar work, man.
bar work, church, when
Yeah,
you go to the
wherever.
grocery store. It's a great conversation starter, so but let us know who your sleepers are. Let us know who your top five are. We would love to hear your take. Hey, we're not trying to sit here and be experts, but like I said, we got a few championships underneath our belts here. So, we're just trying to share the love with you guys. But just remember, like a good beard, a fantasy team takes patience and consistency to build a championship caliber. You know, so, and if you are a beard guy, you understand that. So just hold true to your draft board. Don't forget why you started it. Don't let the guy who picks Patrick Mahomes number 4 overall throw you off. Stay on course. Don't take a kicker too early. People are going to take Justin Tucker. People are going to start taking San Francisco 49ers defense. Stay true to the course. You built your draft board for a reason. Stay true to it, and you will find yourself winning that league at the end of the year, especially if you have some of these guys on your list. So, but next week, we're going to be breaking down running backs and tight ends to kind of finish up this fantasy series. And Carlos, that's going to lead us right in. It's just a beautiful
So
segue
close.
right on in to the regular season. We got the Hall of Fame game on tonight, dude. I turned that on because football is on. Football is back. I mean, like, I don't care who's playing. Football is back, and so I just turned it
Yeah,
on. And my wife came out to the living room and she understood. It's
she
that
did.
time.
They give you the look and a little, and they know it's
Yeah,
here. We'll
they
see you
know
in
it's
6
here.
months.
I've been telling my kids, hey kids, guess what? Football Sunday's in a couple of weeks, and they're just like, So they don't get the TV, after church on Sundays anymore. It's
Yeah, that's right.
good old daddy time. And we're going to the early service on Sunday, so then that way I can get back to my couch. But until next week, we appreciate you guys. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. That is the best way to help us out. But until next week, Beardzone out.